Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
Hello, people, beautiful people.
So this was our exclusive that we did yesterday on the Galactic Federation and their update on the progress of what many people are anticipating as the Great Earth changes. So there was a channeling that Cindy did in the morning. And again, kind of impromptu. So again, we encourage everybody, come and join us over on Patreon. Again, exclusives each week, most of the time, multiple times per week. And you could join the family for as little as $1 a month. Do check out Evolutionary Energy Arts, or Ellie updated the website, so you have links to everything, testimonials on what can be done with energy work. Again, things that would only be called miraculous. It doesn't happen all the time because, one of the biggest variables in play is you or whoever it is that is, getting the work done. And your higher self. I think so much of whether things go smoothly for us or roughly is how much we are aligned with the higher self. When things just seem to go in a very, very synchronous way, all sorts of synchronicities happening and things going, smoothly, usually that's because we're in alignment with the higher self. When we're out of alignment with the higher self, then it tends to get to be a bumpy road, and usually there's a lot of signs that will keep popping up around us all the time.
Indeed, I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. I keep mentioning this feather brick truck, and I usually have to get hit by the truck because I don't pay attention.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Joe's alluding to. With the higher self, sometimes you'll get these little nudges, whether you're supposed to turn left or turn right. Then if, that doesn't work, instead of something light, it might be a little bit bigger notification that you need to change something, and eventually it's a truck that hits you. And I will share that in my life. I've shared with you guys, I ruptured 2 discs back when I was 28, and that was I do believe that was higher self saying, no, you're not supposed to be going down this path. And then about 2 years after that, I ended up catching Lyme disease with a tick bite. And again, that was higher self saying, you didn't hear me. You're supposed to change a lot of major things in your life. And, it was just, sometimes it takes a while for us to get the messages that are coming through from higher self.
That truck hurts.
Oh, it sure does. So the Secret Service shot what they are calling a mentally disturbed armed man near the White House last night. Just a sign of the times. It truly, truly is a sign of the times. When you look at everything that's going on geopolitically, by the way, there was this massive Ukrainian flag that was unfurled out in front of the White House as well. And, of course, this has been a big discussion about cutting off the funding to keep this war going, with some sources saying, as many as 1.5 to 2 million people have been either killed or injured in this 3-year conflict. And we all want to see this end. And yet we don't want to see a new conflict pick up where that one, left off, so to speak. And then you have threats against Iran coming from both the Middle Eastern country and the USA. And you have China and Russia and Iran holding naval exercises near the Strait of Hormuz starting tomorrow. This is showing that if you do attack Iran, you might as well realize you're attacking China and Russia. So, as I was sharing, it always felt to me what the U.S. was trying to do was to maybe appease over in Ukraine the BRICS nations, let's say, and then also with the thought that, well, if something starts in the Middle East, hopefully you'll turn a blind eye, but it ain't going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And here we go with again throwing out there the Armageddon warning, nuclear disaster. Well, again, the higher powers in that the beings that have technology that makes ours look like nothing, and even the dark control systems look like nothing, they won't allow a nuclear conflagration to take place. This doesn't mean that the news won't give us at some point in time that there's been some sort of limited exchange, where there are weapons that mimic that. So, we have to realize that Trump says monster nukes could be end of the world and stark nuclear war warning over missile stockpiles. Russia has the most, they say, the U.S. close second. And then quite a few other nations do have these stockpiles. I don't believe they'll be allowed to use them. This is why we saw one of the first acts that Trump did as 45 was to abolish a treaty that limited how small they could be. Why in the world would you be doing that? Because you want to blur the lines. And again, they know that they're not going to be able to use them. There have been so many instances of ETs or UFOs, UAPs, flying over military installations and shutting everything off. That's a clear message, in my mind, that they're not going to be allowed to destroy everything, because it goes into other dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this could get messy looking. I mean, we were just talking last week about how in Europe, as Trump is trying to get away from the WHO and NATO and all these other things, how they're doubling down and, beating the war drums, and here we are, distancing ourselves from our allies seemingly because we're not in alignment with it, but yet now today you're seeing this alignment with China and Russia and Iran, and to me it's like, this is getting awful interesting. Wondering how this is all going to play out on the grand stage. And then as far as the nuclear capabilities, like, whether we have them, Russia, China, whoever, I don't think the higher beings, whether you call them the galactics or whoever, it affects multi-dimensions whenever these things go off. And I know that from the testimony of some of the Air Force guys that actually saw them negate the nuclear facilities and nuclear weapons. They would launch them, and the next thing you know, you see this UFO, UAP, whatever they're called these days, and then you see a beam of light that hits the the front end of the tip of the missile, rocket, whatever, and then all of a sudden it's inert. So, I mean, if that happened back in the late 80s, 90s, I mean, I don't think that they're going to be allowed to do this, even today.
No, and there's plenty of evidence of what Joe's talking about. They have that stuff on video. It's quite interesting.
Oh yeah, there's tons of evidence, and again, you'll get people to say, "Where's the evidence?" Well, they haven't woke up yet. They haven't opened their eyes yet. They haven't actually looked, because again, a lot of people just are shocked with what the reality truly is, and they can't handle the reality, and that's the bottom line. So they won't even look, but they'll still talk. Meanwhile, the U.S. warned of Caribbean becoming a Chinese lake with so many things going on, and 10 countries in the Caribbean have signed up for the Belt and Road Initiative from China. So, could it be a Trojan horse? Oh, absolutely. Cuba, Suriname, Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada, Barbados, Dominica, Antigua, Barbuda, Dominican Republic, and Jamaica. Yet, what we got to realize is, what does this division do? We need to look at ourselves as, one human species on the planet. And even with that, we need to understand that the other life forms on the planet have a vested interest in what the crazy humans do. Because the humans have allowed themselves to be controlled by demonic entities that control through division. This serves the purpose of the demonic entities. When we start looking at ourselves as being part of a living organism, then we're going to look back and look at all this geopolitical intrigue and think, wow, that was really idiotic.
Yeah. This reminds me of way back in the day when Dwight D. Eisenhower warned about the industrial complex, the military-industrial complex. And when I spoke at the Free Your Mind conference, I think it was like in 2011 or something, his great-granddaughter, Laura Eisenhower, was there speaking of the various things and how she's on a different path. She's on this higher spirituality. From what I, discussed with her, I interviewed her, but she brought out the truth of a lot of this information. Again, people are saying that, this, none of you have no evidence, and I mean, there's whistleblower after whistleblower that has come out to tell the truth. What are you going to do? Go to the mainstream media to get the truth when they've lied to us and our federal government has lied to us? I mean, about every single thing. It's, seeping out with the social media, at least. But, I don't know what proof people will look for. Like, where do you look, for the truth, in quotes?
Well, even if you just looked simply at declassified CIA, FBI documents, you'd find enough. I mean, there's plenty there, just looking at that. Meanwhile, obviously, Joe Biden wasn't the one running the criminal enterprise. No, the Oversight Project investigation showed that Biden's AutoPen signature was used virtually on every single document. We understand that there were actors, perhaps even clones, maybe even robots, literally portraying the figure of Joe Biden. Do you know the real Joe Biden, from what we got, died before he ever became president? That was never the original Joe Biden. Does it really matter? This is all a puppet show, but yet there is the possibility that higher selves will grab hold of some people, and literally the tug of war is underway to make real change, and they're not allowed to go off script. And when they do go off script, that's when all of a sudden, there's a grassy knoll. Again, there's a gunshot while they're watching a play or whatever it is. Something happens, and then it's the next chapter. So, establishment of the strategic Bitcoin reserve and the United States digital asset stockpile. Yeah, America will be the super, power when it comes to Bitcoin in the world. The golden age of America has begun. The real golden age has nothing to do with any of the systems that are in place. Not at all. It's a totally different world. People don't even, you're a creator. You're not a slave. Just think about this. What are the employment numbers, right? I mean, people's participation economically is a key measurement of the economy itself. So that's how many people are signing on, to be in the system. A lot of people have become entrepreneurs, tried to get out of the system, chosen to, even though they might have 300,000 in student loans, not operate in the system because they can't stomach it. Their higher conscious won't let them. And then others, they're still, they don't see any alternatives. We have to look outside the box and really, really think about other alternatives. But of course, no dissent. Now, no dissent is something that they don't want humanity dissenting from any of their paradigms. So, again, that whole concept of, well, wait a minute, are you saying you're not a capitalistic person? You don't believe in capitalism? Well, you must be a communist. But again, no, I would personally reject communism because, when you look at communism on planet Earth, it's not communal. You have an elite class, again, that leeches off everybody else. We find it in socialism. We find it in quote-unquote democracies. What are democracies? Literally, you could say a democracy is mob rules, because if you have 1% more than the other side, then, that side rules. So it is kind of the mob rules when you think about it. There should be respect for everybody. And again, nobody should be coerced into being something that they're not. And yet we see that, and just look at the divide between the Republicans and the Democrats. I would hope that we could give up all these labels. Yet we will take whatever wins we can get when it comes to freedom. And certainly we're finding out truthfully that there was so much going on the left. And yet there is also on the right. Again, 9/11 itself happened with, Bush in power and the neocons. So obviously that was the right side, so to speak, that was in Casablanca at that point in time that gave us the Patriot Act, which, really was something that was so limiting in our freedom, and they just keep moving forward because they're terrified of humans. They're terrified of humans being free entities. So, here you go. They're trying to sell us on another bill and talking about billions for defense programs. They're not defensive in nature. When was the last time we were directly attacked here, militarily? And yet we're spending $1 trillion a year for defense? No, it's offensive in nature. And it's all offensive against humanity in general.
So my first question would be, are we spending that amount of money? How would we even know? We don't know anything. Everything that I see nowadays, it's just like, okay, sure we are. I mean, could we be? Could it be 10 times that? Could it be like $1 million? We don't have any idea what the real truth is. They've separated everybody and everything, and they flipped everything on its head, from nutrition to the medical world to finances to the legal system. It's all upside down, and it just keeps everybody guessing and going in circles. And the only thing you could do, you try to get back to the bare roots of things, and do what you can do with your family, raise your vibration, and we're all on this ride together. It's kind of like you got on a roller coaster and you can't get off until it's done. You know what I mean? It's just like, can I get off? Oh, crap. I got another couple loop-de-doops to go through before this whole ride is finished.
Yeah, absolutely. So here you go. You see here, Attorney Catherine Ybarra recently presented shocking findings on military planes. Again, that's part of our defense budget. Spraying chemicals, not just high-altitude stratospheric ops, but low-level flights over populated areas. Her team uncovered that the U.S. Air Force, again, our defensive expenditure, they tell us, uses specialized units like those with C-130 planes to spray chemicals such as naled, an organic organophosphate banned in the EU, for mosquito control. This is part of your defense spending. Air Force documents show planes dispersing over places like near Langley Air Force Base in Virginia. These map areas to avoid like bald eagle's nest, but not residential zones. So, it goes on. You got a defense contractor develop spray systems per their patents. These nozzles can then disperse fine mist of pesticides, antibiotics, or other things as well. This is part of where your defense expenditures go to. Again, it could certainly lead to a lot of problems. In my mind, this is not defensive in nature. Here's 20 plus dangerous chemicals being sprayed by the Air Force with your tax dollars that, again, they tell us, all these things are for our own protection. Nothing could be farther from the truth.
Yeah, so I remember not too many years ago, they released mosquitoes. Yeah. And then I remember working construction. I remember specifically being on a roof, banging on shingles, and all of a sudden they released these flies to kill some beetle or something. And I'm just like, they're releasing all this, but yet now they're claiming that, we got to spray to kill the things we released, kind of, and then all of this stuff, like, we don't have a choice. Do you know what I mean? It's like, well, I don't want that antibiotic, or I don't want barium, strontium, lithium, blood products, whatever the heck they're spraying. Like, we don't really have a choice in the matter. It's just like, and the irony is we're paying for all this stuff.
I know we're paying for our own demise, and that's where I start getting really frustrated. Is if I witness being myself painted into a corner because I have no choice in what they are doing, But we always have choices. We have choices, But it's probably best to choose to detox right now. I know lots of people who've been affected by this stuff, and they've had lots of problems. But yeah, I mean, we're not asking for this. We're not asking to be sprayed with any of this stuff. We're not voluntarily putting it in our body, and it just seems so unfair that we have to pay for it.
The indifference and ignorance of humanity causes untold suffering upon the planet. And that's really the bottom line. There is this either an indifferent attitude with so many of the masses, or they're ignorant, sometimes willfully. Again, they don't want their belief systems changed. They're terrified to be exposed to new information that just blows away paradigms. Well, what if we told you that your very toilet paper with certain brands are loaded with those forever chemicals that can increase the likelihood, again, of certain diseases? And, it's no accident that we have, rampant, just not just the turbo cancers, but, there's other things as well. But, man, we all know people that are passing like flies. And when you look closely, you got to question things. This is a report out of China. And what they're getting at is China's supposed to have 1.4 billion people, and the numbers are not adding up. And either the fact that, they did have this in effect where you can only have one kid per child for a very long time in China. Well, now, when you really look closely and you start adding things up, people have done this too in other countries around the world, like adding the most populous cities together, and then you're left with this realization that, wait a minute, that only adds up to like 60% or 50% of the population they say a country has. Do we actually have far less people on the planet than they tell us? Are there way less people than they tell us? They tell us there's 8 billion people. Or have we lost a massive amount of the population? Like, this is getting to the fact that this particular study can only account for about 900 million out of the 1.4 billion. So did 500 million people disappear, or were they never there in the first place? Again, there's a lot of people that seem to be leaving this realm of existence at this point in time.
I mean, I see the reports, but I also still see, like, when I go to the store, I still see plenty of people. I do see so I kind of, but I also see people getting very, very sick, and many dropping personal friends and stuff like that. So I kind of see everything around, but I guess I'm waiting for that big gap. Like, when I do see parking lots empty, when I do see the grocery stores empty, I don't think they're telling the truth about our population at all.
I don't think they're telling us the truth about anything. Right. This is what I'm saying. It's just, I don't, like, when I see it, I can see myself getting triggered by some of these things both ways. Like, on one hand, it's like, this probably isn't even true. Are the numbers even true? Then it's like, well, if they are poisoning our toilet paper, these people are just evil. Last year, I think it was, I seen a headline about tampons were poison. Yeah. And I'm just like, or Band-Aids. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Like, is this to trigger us to, like, I feel like I've done this inner work, but man, I got to tell you, when I'm looking at this, I got to try to, start meditating more often, because, when I meditated and I stayed away from all this craziness, I was in a better place. But I mean, it just is coming at us so rapidly with so many reports. It's not like one a week now. It's just like multiple per day. And is it like the times we're in because of the energies we're in, or the cycle that we're in, or is it them, or a combination of them, that are fueling the fire of fear and frustration because it's as if there's nothing we can do about it, type of a thing?
Well, again, I think this is just humanity is awakening, and there are those that have been awake, and it's also, as you keep sharing this, it expands out exponentially. So I think we're at a point where everything is being revealed. It's just like They can't hold their form in the emerald tablets. And what so many people have seen, like Nostradamus and others have said that at some point in time, when they do start the third WW, it's literally they're lighting the fuse on themselves, because ultimately humanity gets tired of it, rises up, and the system is no more. That's really what is the ultimate demise. That's also why they hold off on lighting that fire for that third WW, because then truly their time is just about over. And you have a declassified document that reveals the CIA secretly used astral projection remote viewing back in '73 to see Jupiter. They saw moons that hadn't been discovered yet. They saw liquid and volcanic peaks. They even saw living beings in the asteroid belt. Yeah, absolutely. Again, what we have gotten from the guides over the course of years of Cindy going under in complete channeling state, and then also in partial channeling, is that as far as we know, there really is 39 different planets in our solar system. It's much bigger than they tell you. And in fact, life is not just here and there. It's the norm, and it's everywhere.
Well, we should be able to see different planets. We should be able to see things, but I think they keep us really nestled tight with their control system, including, throwing up a big hologram wherever they can.
I love the pictures that they show us of the Earth from like either satellites or other telescopes that are out there that turn around and view the Earth, but there's no stars. It's always dark. Every time you see a picture, like from this vantage point, I'm looking up, I see all these stars. How come it's just black, like nothingness, every time they show us a picture?
I know, it's really strange. There's a very interesting light up in space, because I did go up there, and when I looked, it's like I could still see light emanating from everywhere. It was very difficult to explain. I guess I was in the middle of source energy. I don't know. It was so hard. It wasn't like anybody sees right now. It wasn't what they say, not at all. It's like this light was living. It was an entity. It was for all of us, and I could see everything. So yeah, we're being tricked.
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, when you get people that will say blanket things like there's no proof of aliens, there's no proof of this, no proof of that, they probably are having a diet that's loaded with this type of stuff, which is pure poison. As this says, since I've awakened, all this looks like poison. That's because it is. And there are always healthy alternatives out there. Know what you're putting into your body. Gosh, it almost looks like they've been telling us. Yeah, this kind of says it all. What do you have over here? You have a snake and a reptilian being over here. They're puppeting, controlling these giants, who are then puppeting and controlling these giants, who are sending off to war all of us. And they feed literally off of the energy that people send them. When they hijack all these sacred places and then put churches, up, or use as a church, places that were intended to bring in life force energy as places of healing, and they reverse it so that we're all sending the energy to the parasitic, demonic, reptilian, lower for astral realm energies, and that are really giving us this division. This says it all. There's really nothing hidden here.
No, they're not trying to hide anything, but I do think they bring in people who are very special and very good at making up stories for us to believe. That who knows what they write. But this is what I see, as above, so below. This is what I see in all of our so many places where they say that they're worshiping God. It's just, it doesn't feel right. And that was my problem all along. I had to find spirituality to free where my energy went.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen a better depiction than that picture right there. Good. Oh, yeah.
It's pretty darn good.
Yeah, and again, this is an ancient picture that really says it all, because this is everything in a nutshell. But we're going to rise beyond their ability to control us. And it's going to be like these guys breaking out. We're free!
Oh, it'll be fun. It'll be great fun.
Let's go.
Please do like, share, subscribe if you feel so inclined to help support us, support the awakening. Join us over on Patreon. Exclusives over there. Join us at 5 p.m. Central Standard, or is it? I'm not sure what time are we on now. Standard time, I guess. Well, anyway, 5 p.m. Central Time. I'll just say that. We'll be back, and we're going to be doing a live meditation. Dr. Joe's going to lead us, and we'll see what else develops, but we're going to be trying to counteract the darkness by spreading more light, love, and, as Joe would say, laughter.
Indeed. Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.